Hi, I'm Mark Medina with the Los Angeles Times, and we're about to introduce the third edition of Lakers Roundtable, and we're changing up the format here. We're going to start, hopefully, what we think will be the beginning of something new. Before each Lakers game, we're going to start interviewing the beat writer that covers that opposing team, and joining us now to preview the Lakers and Denver Nuggets matchup is the beat writer of the Denver Post, Benjamin Hochman. How are you doing today?
Mark, what's going on, man?
Not too much. I mean, I don't really know how to see this. This is the first time that we're doing this with the opposing team's beat writer, so I don't know if this creates more pressure on you to, kind of raise the bar, so to speak, or, if you can just kind of set the tone here. So, I mean, it's really up to you.
Mark, I think we're doomed from the get-go.
So this is just one of those one-and-done type things?
That's right. No, I'm excited to do this. Obviously, covering the Nuggets side, I've seen the Lakers a bunch the last few years, and Thursday night's going to be a blast.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at this past season, Nuggets took the first two games, and the last game, the Lakers were able to take that. What have you drawn so far from this series?
Well, what I've drawn from it is Ron Artest is an X factor. You look at the way he smothered Carmelo Anthony in the most recent Nuggets-Lakers game, you have to wonder if that pickup the Lakers made was specifically for a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who the Lakers could face in the postseason. Melo was not Melo that night. It was just one game, yes, but that's going to be the thing I'm going to watch as I watch this game.
Yeah, what was kind of Melo's perspective on that?
No, I mean, it was a battle, and if you watch the tape on that, Ron was doing everything he could, legal or illegal, to rattle the All-Star, and it worked. And playoff basketball, fouls aren't called as often, so it'll be interesting to see if these two teams match up in the postseason, just how much Artest can get under Carmelo's skin. But obviously Carmelo's going to have to get to the free throw line, Mark, and that's the thing that we here in Denver have been following closely, because in the last couple of weeks, Melo, who averages around 9 free throw attempts a game, has been down to like 6 or 5 with his average. He's just not getting the calls. Melo says he's not changing his game up. He's still being as aggressive as he was in January, if you will, but he's not getting the calls. So he can't get the calls against Ron Artest. It could be a long night for number 15.
Yeah, and I know you've recently compared his play to almost being like a chess player. I don't know if we have a new Bobby Fischer in the works, but I mean, what is it about his game? Do you think that he'll have to make any type of adjustments so he can make those calls, or what's your perspective on that? Yeah,
I wrote a story a few weeks ago just breaking down Melo's moves. And when he gets the ball, he kind of approaches the game as if he's a chess master with a lot of different moves up his sleeves, if you will. But he's going to have to utilize all of them and be creative. I mean, that's the thing. Against a guy like Ron Artest, against a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, the offensive player has got to be creative and team-oriented. He can't just bulldoze his way to the basket because he's not going to get the calls consistently. So Melo's going to have to really sit down with the Nuggets assistant coaches and talk about ways, come up with a scheme, a plan to figure out how to get to the free throw line, because that's where he scores his points.
Yeah, one other interesting thing that came out of the last matchup that the Lakers won is afterwards, a lot of the reporters, including myself, were talking to Pau Gasol, and he kind of shared that from his perspective, obviously, that he felt that the Nuggets as a team just chatters a lot, talks way too much, and that at that particular matchup, the Lakers proved that they weren't going to back down from all that type of chatter. What was were you able to gather what the Nuggets' reaction was to that?
Yeah, I mean, these aren't buddies. I mean, this is the Lakers and the Nuggets. They played in the playoffs the last 2 seasons. I mean, yes, Carmelo and Kobe have developed a pretty good relationship off the court, but they're competitors, and all these guys are competitors. I mean, Nene, Kenyon Martin, even though Kenyon Martin's injured and probably won't play in the game, J.R. Smith, these guys like to talk. They like to show their presence on the court verbally as much as physically, and I hope the Nuggets start working on their Spanish so they can provide Paul some more stuff. I think it just makes for fun basketball.
They've been working on their Spanish.
Not to my knowledge, but who knows? Maybe they'll show up in a local high school Spanish class. pick up some words.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just fun, Mark, right? Isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised if they're taking linguistic courses lately to learn all the Spanish swear words they can throw up pal there.
I'll tell you this, Mark. The NBA in the past decade, and I've written this in the Denver Post, has really just become one big fraternity. And then people say for better or worse, I'll say for worse. Everybody's buddies. Everybody's texting each other, high-fiving before the game. I think it's refreshing to see two teams go out there and say, you know what, I don't like you, and I'm going to work really hard to defeat you. I think that enhances the game.
Yeah, so it's fair to say that the Lakers, Denver, they're not inviting each other to each other's house to hang out.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what, maybe indeed they will in August, but these two teams specifically do a good job of harnessing their anger on the court, and it's fun to see. You're not going to see tweets after the game. Good game, you played well. See you in the playoffs. I mean, a lot of the NBA players do that, and it kind of makes my skin crawl.
How does Denver specifically view the Lakers? Do they see them as a rivalry yet at this point?
Oh, definitely. And actually, my buddy Peter Klausner, he lives in Santa Monica. He's a diehard Lakers fan, and I interviewed him from my Nuggets mailbag to talk about this very subject, whether or not these two teams are rivals. And then old Peter Klausner made a good point. He goes, it's not a rivalry until both teams win. And as we see in the playoffs, the Lakers have been the victors. So hopefully for the rivalry's sake, the Nuggets will win a series, not hopefully for your Lakers fans listening to the podcast here. But the fact is, it's a rivalry in the Nuggets' eyes because the Lakers are the team they want to be. Fact of the matter, this team went to the finals the last 2 years, beat the Nuggets along the way. The Nuggets want to be the champions. They use that C word. They've been using the C word since Media Day back in October. And in order to do so, they're going to have to knock off the defending champions.
Well, I think you can be assured that I don't think the readers of the Lakers blog will take it out on you personally that you cover the Nuggets. You're merely the facilitator of information.
However, on my Twitter, @NuggetsNews, shameless plug there, I did get one tweet from a Lakers fan who I think just thought that I was a Nuggets fan, and he tweeted, I think there were 7 words to me, and 4 of them had 4 letters and I couldn't use at church.
Well, with your plug there, you just left yourself vulnerable for a few more of those.
Well, no, I hope that the Lakers fans realize that I'm the Nuggets reporter, and I'd be happy to share some Nuggets information with them, but I'm just reporting the game. I don't have a horse in the race, if you will.
No worries. Do not take it out personally on Ben. He's a good guy.
Thank you.
You brought up a good point here about just how the Nuggets view the Lakers and whether it's a rivalry, and you mentioned your conversation with your friend from Santa Monica that, until the Nuggets win in the playoffs against the Lakers, then that will change the dynamic. But I know what's interesting from our end, just covering the team, the Lakers acknowledged that, they said that they don't really consider it a rivalry, but that they did acknowledge that after these 2 losses in the regular season to the Nuggets, that they're definitely on their radar now. And from what you've been able to see, from what the team's been able to see, have they sensed a change of demeanor from the Lakers end as far as how they play them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think the Nuggets, not that they were, quote-unquote, scared of the Lakers, but I think if there was any, oh, wow, the Lakers, the wow factor, if you will, I think that's decreased a lot. Notably, after that second Nuggets win, if you recall, Carmelo Anthony didn't play at Staples Center that night. Chauncey Billups made 19 3-pointers, and the Nuggets won the game. I think it was a big statement game, bigger than the previous game, because that was at Pepsi Center, and the Lakers were in the second game of a back-to-back. Now, heading into this fourth matchup of the season, the Nuggets will be in the second game of back-to-back, playing the Thunder the night before. So the Lakers will be fresh, almost too fresh. They haven't played in 5 days, something like that. It's ridiculous. But I'm really looking forward to the game.
Like that way. They played Easter against San Antonio, but they were able to have the day off from Monday. But definitely a long stretch before they play against Denver on Thursday.
Yeah. I'm pumped up about the game, though. Unfortunately, Kenyon Martin is banged up and probably won't play. It's a shame because I know Bynum's not doing great either, but it's a shame when you don't have your five best versus their five best because it's not necessarily equal. You know, you want to see who's better. You want to see who's better, and unfortunately, you won't totally know unless the guys are healthy. But as coaches say, injuries are part of the game.
Now, you mentioned that with Kenyon's knee injury that it's not at this point at least definitive he'd be able to get back in time before the regular season ends, and his hope is at least to be able to return for the playoffs. So where does he stand as far as his recovery process goes?
Well, on March 8th, he got that revolutionary PRP therapy. It became famous a couple years ago when Hines Ward did it before the Super Bowl and was able to play, even though most people thought he wouldn't be able to. It's without getting doctor on you. Basically, they remove blood platelets from a different part of your body, and then they put that into the injured part of the body in efforts to help it heal. Kenyon did that on March 8th, like I said. He slowly began riding on a stationary bike, shooting a little bit. He's in the weight room. But even if he's ready, perhaps next week, to play in one of Denver's final regular season games, I mean, it's just one reporter's opinion here, but I can't see him being a 35-minute, throwing Dirk Nowitzki to the ground type defender and player, at least for a couple weeks. So it's going to be really interesting to see his acceleration, his progress, because that's key to the Nuggets.
Where has his absence been felt the most since he's been out of the lineup, do you think?
Clearly on the defensive end. I mean, he's the defensive quarterback of the Nuggets. You could argue that his defense is as important to Denver as Artest's is to the Lakers. Kenyon Martin is kind of like a strong safety out there, pointing guys in different directions. Maybe a linebacker, if you will, throwing basically any football position except for punter, and it works for Kenyon Martin, quarterback, if you will. So the Nuggets need him. There's a void down there. There's a toughness void, too, and I think that's what scares a lot of Nuggets fans.
Yeah, I know this definitely has caught the attention nationally regarding Kenyon being on his injury. This crazy April Fool's joke where I guess J.R. Smith's personal driver filled his car with popcorn, and all reports indicate, including yours, that Kenyon was not happy whatsoever. I mean, were you in the locker room when all this stuff happened?
I was, Mark. It was surreal. Basically, a source had told me that earlier in the day, Kenyon had played a less serious prank on JR. JR and his guy, Laquan Johnson, his personal driver, cooked up a little scheme to get back at Kenyon. For your listeners that might not know what happened, Kenyon had gotten a brand new, I think, a Range Rover with cream color interior, and during the Nuggets game on April Fool's Day, Kenyon was on the Nuggets bench. The personal driver filled the thing up with popcorn all the way. So when Kenyon goes out to his car, he opens the door and popcorn spills out. Kenyon gets mad easily, according to J.R. Smith when I interviewed him just the other day. And I saw it firsthand. Kenyon, I felt bad for him. He came in the locker room screaming with the same intensity as the Lakers tweeter who contacted me. It was I felt bad for him, but it was a funny scene. But Kenyon, he did not accept the apology. But I spoke to Carmelo Anthony just the other day about the chemistry of the team, and Carmelo reassured me that JR and Kenyon are doing okay. That maybe they're not buying each other flowers, but they're on the same team. And they realize that they have the same goal.
And they're not going to the drive-through eating that popcorn that's left in their car right now.
Imagine how much popcorn that is.
Yeah, he could just open up a movie theater now. It's probably not the most sanitary, but he's definitely got enough, right?
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned Kenyon Martin's absence. Obviously, another notable absence, has been George Karl. Just the unfortunate news with his throat and neck cancer and just the radiation treatment that he's had to go through with that. How's he been doing?
Well, I actually had the opportunity to go to George's house last Saturday, and I was there, and his life partner, a beautiful, nice woman named Kim Vandre, is basically he and she raised their young child together, and she has been there for him during this fight, and I sat down with her for almost 2 hours and did an interview, and she really broke, because George can't talk right now very much. It hurts for him to talk. She really broke down what he's going through, and I'll tell you, man, it's been so tough. He is a fighter. He's had his 7th chemotherapy, over 30 radiations. I mean, he's on all this pain medication. His neck looks fried. She told me that so basically he'll be done with the treatments this week, but that doesn't mean snapping the fingers he's ready to be yelling at the refs. I mean, he still has a process to go, and she said he probably won't be available for the Nuggets for the first round of the playoffs. So here in Denver, the fans are hoping that there's a playoff run. George can come back and inspire the guys, inspire the city, just by having his presence on the bench. But we'll have to see how his body reacts. That's first and foremost.
Yeah, what's been your impression just talking to people around the organization, just as far as how the team just handled his absence, and obviously, first and foremost, just understanding, his health situation.
Yeah, it's been so emotional and everybody's kind of reacted a different way. Joey Graham, for instance, the Nuggets reserve forward, his aunt went through a similar cancer situation, and now he's living it again with George Karl as coach. He was telling me about that. A lot of the players are shaken up by it, but I mean, you got to approach it like you're going to the office every day, and George would want the team to handle basketball as seriously as possible, and that's what the Nuggets are trying to do. But I'll be honest, watching these games with interim coach Adrian Dantley, he's working his hardest, trying his best. But, I mean, it's clear the importance of a guy like George Karl running your team. 900-plus wins, the experience in the huddle, the experience in fourth quarters. Adrian Dantley just doesn't have that, and we've seen some setbacks with the Nuggets.
As far as those setbacks go, are there any particular things that you can point to that kind of correlate to that absence? I mean, you did mention, obviously, the dynamic that changes with Karl's absence and Adrian Dantley taking over as the acting coach for now. What differences in philosophy and in play have you seen thus far?
Well, no team is immune to kind of playing down in their competition. I even watched the Lakers game a couple weeks ago when Minnesota was at Staples, and in the fourth quarter, the Timberwolves were hanging around until the Lakers realized that their opponent was indeed the Timberwolves, and they stepped it up. The Nuggets, to answer your question, the Nuggets go through that a lot, and it's been more conspicuous without George Karl. Same team, Minnesota. We were up there in Minnesota, and the Timberwolves were slapping the Nuggets around. I'm like, what is going on here? And then another game comes to mind just the other night. The Clippers were in Denver, and in the second quarter, the Clippers led by 21 points. Now, Denver came back and won the game because, they're a better, healthier basketball team, what have you. But if you go down 21 in the playoffs, you ain't coming back. I mean, that's the situation. The Nuggets need to realize, they need to focus and realize that the fourth quarter and the second quarter have similar importance. And the other thing I'll tell you, Mark, is passing. I mean, it's a simple thing, but the Nuggets are something like 41-7, right around there, when they have 20 or more assists. I mean, that's a pretty telling statistic right there. Yeah, but in a lot of these games with Adrian Dantley, they would tally 12, 15 assists, and oh my goodness, they'd lose the game. How did we lose this game? I have no idea. What did we do wrong? Well, we didn't share the basketball. And they're going to do that. Yeah, I mean, they have to. It's imperative.
I know from the Lakers and as the regular season is winding down, obviously, as far as what each team is going through, the Lakers obviously have a pretty secure lead for the top spot in the West, but I think it's fair to say that the Lakers, among all these other teams, are talking about momentum, trying to be at its peak once the playoffs come. And, obviously when you look at the West, there's that logjam with Denver, Dallas, Phoenix, Utah. Where do you ultimately see Denver finishing out among that mix there?
It's tough to predict. I've looked at the schedules, and all the teams play tough teams in their final run. I can see the Nuggets with a lot of their home games on their schedule probably nabbing that 3 seed and maybe playing Oklahoma City in the first round. But momentum is so big, and I'm sure I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm sure a lot of your Lakers fans are also Dodgers fans. And I think back to the first round of the baseball playoffs last year, the Cardinals, on paper, was one of the best Cardinals team in history heading into that postseason, but they clinched the division early and kind of went on a little swoon, if you will, resting some guys and what have you. And the Cardinals lost that first round of the playoffs. I'm not blaming it on that final week, but you talk about momentum. Momentum's huge. You look at Butler basketball. They went to the national championship game because they were on the biggest momentum run maybe in the country. So momentum, you can't calculate it, but it's pretty important in sports.
Yeah, for sure. And bringing up the St. Louis stuff, I really hope these Laker fans don't take it out on you here.
Yeah, I'm not doing myself any favors here, am I?
I can't reiterate enough. Benjamin's a great guy. You know, he's merely just providing some perspective here. Don't call him a hater or anything like that. Well, you offered some prediction with how the West is going to turn out. What's your prediction on how this game you think will turn out with the Lakers and the Nuggets here?
It's going to be tough for the Denver Nuggets to win this game, if only because of the things we've mentioned. Kenyon Martin's out, George Karl's out, and the Nuggets, it's the second game of a back-to-back. And the Lakers are a very mentally tough team. I mean, you got to give them credit. When push comes to shove, they step it up. I know it's a lot of cliches there. I sound like a coach. But they know what it takes to win the important games. And this game is important because there's not that many left in the regular season, and they want that momentum, the aforementioned momentum. They want to set the tone heading into the postseason, and they've got number 24, and he's good at basketball.
Yeah, I hear he's kind of a big deal.
He is kind of a big deal, yes.
Kobe Bryant, right? Yeah, it sounds a little familiar out here.
If he steps up his play, one day he might be an all-star.
Possibly. There's still, a lot of years ahead of him. He has a lot of potential, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mark. Super quick, I'll tell you, I mean, people are saying LeBron MVP, and statistically, yeah, but, I mean, you've got to make a case for Kobe being Bryant, right? I mean, he's the best player and the leader and the pumping heart of the best team in the best conference.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I've mentioned this on the Lakers blog, and it's not just because I'm writing for a Lakers audience. I mean, they do all these who's better, LeBron or Kobe, now even Kevin Durant, and ultimately the litmus test, how many championships you won.
Yeah.
Kobe's kind of got the number there. That's not to say that after each player, when their career is over, how they'll measure up, it's still to be determined. But at this point, Kobe is definitely on top of the game. Now, you look at the finger injury and the shooting numbers and the scoring numbers. I'd hate to, apologize, Laker fans, don't take it out on me, but, just given his numbers and the way Carmelo's done and Durant's done and LeBron's done, I mean, I don't really see him getting the league MVP, but I think Laker fans were pretty satisfied last year that, their team got the championship, and, I think they weren't too worried about LeBron getting the MVP there. Yeah,
I think there's only one trophy that Kobe truly wants.
Exactly. Well, that was some great stuff here from Benjamin Hochman, the Denver Nuggets beat writer from the Denver Post. You can read his stuff all online at the Denver Post's website. I think you provided a great first impression for our first edition of the Lakers Roundtable involving the other opponent's beat writer, so pat yourself on the back there.
Will do, and perhaps the Nuggets and Lakers will play each other in the playoffs, and I'll be on again.
All righty, well, thanks a lot for your time, and we'll see you, I'm sure, shortly in the postseason.
Enjoy your day. Take care.
Okay, have a good one.